and from entire team of SVIFS 2020 welcomes you all in the second plenary session of International Conference on Recent Advancement in Forensic Science. Before heading towards the session, let me take this opportunity to introduce to our session chair. Today, we have with us Dr. Krishna Shastri, former cyber forensic scientist, Directorate of Forensic Science Services. Atiti Devo Bhava, which means the guest is equivalent to God. So, for continuing to this phenomenal tradition of India, I request Dr. Kavita Sharma, Coordinator, Shri Vaishnav Institute of Forensic Science, for welcoming the session chair. Ma'am, please.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Before the session begins, I would like to introduce to us today's session chair. Dr. Krishna Shastri did his MSc from Andhra University, MTech from IIT, Varanasi, and PGP in Public Policy Management from Indian Institute of Management, Bangalore, and Computer Forensics Initial Response Team, Professional Development Program at Wright State University, USA. He is a certified ISO 27001 LA Certified Information System Manager, CISM, and Certified Data Privacy Solution Engineer, CDPSE, and ISACA USA. Certified Network Administrator, CCNA, Certified Hacking and Forensic Investigator, Certified Vulnerability Assessor, and possesses certifications from Department of Homeland Security, USA, and Texas and A&M University on Information Risk and Management, Network Assurance, Cyber Incident Analysis and Response, and Cyber Intelligence from Carnegie Mellon University. He is Interpol certified trainer, train the trainer in the field of computer forensics, and completed Executive Forensic Development Seminar at FBI Forensic Laboratory, Quintico, USA. Mr. Krishna Shastri Pandyala is currently working as partner cybersecurity consulting with Ernst and Young LLP India. Prior to this, Mr. Shastri worked as an executive director, cybersecurity services advisory, PricewaterhouseCoopers India, Tata Consultancy Services as principal consultant and global head, fraud management and digital forensic, and 23 years with Directorate of Forensic Services. Science, Ministry of Home Affairs, Government of India as forensic scientist and handled a large number of cyber forensic investigations. He examined more than 1,400 cases involving digital evidence referred by various state and central investigation agencies. His core area of expertise include offline and online digital forensic investigation, cybersecurity breach, compromise assessment and investigation, red teaming exercise, threat hunting, incident response management, and e-discovery. Thank you so much, sir, for giving your precious time by chairing this session and by honored us by your gracious presence. Now, without taking much of your time, I request Dr. Shastri to kindly chair the session. Sir,
Right.
over to you.
Right. Thank you very much, Mr. Ayush, and I should congratulate the organizers, Dr. Kavita and his team of people, especially the Sri Vaishnav Vidyapit Viswavidyalaya Indore, and especially the Vaishnav Institute of Forensic Science for taking a very good initiative at the right time in conducting this particular forensic seminar, having a very good theme called Recent Advancements in Forensic Science, right? This is a need of the hour. This is where India is really picking up in the area of the forensic science, thanks to initiatives taken by various academicians, administrators, and the government and the policymakers. Today, the growth of forensic science in this country is going to a very great extent. So I would like to congratulate you for taking this initiative in conducting this particular conference. I should also congratulate and thank you for calling me, remember, for taking this particular and chairing this particular session. So this session consists of 4 topics, 4 excellent speakers looking for all the different areas of the forensic science. The 4 speakers which I would like to mention about, the first and the foremost is Mr. Barry. Barry is from all the way from the USA. And Mr. Barry is going to speak about the most relevant topic, because we know in India there's a lot of cases where in the sexual assault cases, the conviction rates have become very, very low in number. In such scenarios, remember, the most key is nothing but what are the various strategic elements of the sexual assault investigation. So that is the need of the hour. Thank you very much, Mr. Barry, and for agreeing to participate in this particular session. Then comes Dr. Wagmore, my old friend. Almost we worked for more than 20 years together. He's currently the forensic director of Goa Forensic Science Laboratory. And before I will speak about exactly what he's going to speak, let me also tell me the topic on which he's going to discuss about is the modern trend in the investigation of forensic ballistics. So we know that today, most of the attackers or the fraudsters, they are using gun as one of the main criteria for doing the various types of terrorist activities to any different activities. So Dr. Wagmore is going to throw more light on what are the modern trends that are really happening in the investigation of forensic ballistics. Then comes Mr. Lyon from Israel. He is choosing a very good, excellent topic because we are all aware when India is moving towards the completely digitalization, where the online payments and everything is coming into the picture. And we are also going to enter into something called Internet of Things IoT era. The cybersecurity has become a very good, important topic today. So I'm very happy. Mr. Lyon is going to discuss about the cybersecurity related areas, especially the one, even I'm looking for it, something called the penetration testing. What are the areas? Welcome, Mr. Lyons. I'll be more than happy and looking forward to listen to your lecture. And then comes my another friend called Ms. Oom. So Oom is from the Nigeria. Before I give exact remember what is Oom and what is his credentials and all, but I would like to share you, Mr. Oom is going to take the session on forensics of the biological weapons use. So this is a very good, excellent topic today. Is the COVID-19, the virus, what we are talking about, is it a biological weapon? So let us also start listening from him because he's doing an excellent job in Nigeria as well as in combating the COVID-19. And when I looked at the profile, I was amazed that he's working very hard, to control the COVID-19. So welcome, Mr. Oma. I'm looking forward to listen along with all the participants exactly what are our areas in the areas of forensics of the biological weapons. So I would like to thank once again the organizers. So first, the session will be taken by Mr. Barry A.J. Fisher. Good evening, Barry. You are all the way joined from the West Coast, so we're all looking forward. So let me briefly read the the background of Mr. Barry Fisher. Barry Fisher is served as the crime laboratory director of the Los Angeles County Sheriff Departments, right? And he had held this position from 1987 till his retirement for 2009. It means approximately he was there for 22 years in this particular area. He got a very good and wide research experiences. His author of very good books. Are really amazed by seeing this particular profile. Barry, I should appreciate you for the excellent work you have done, not only in the United States, but also in the whole world. Because I have seen your profile, the countries where you studied, where you participated, you are a part of the various committees and all. Mr. Barry began his career, in criminalistics, way back in the Sheriff Crime Lab in 1969, you can think of. Maybe I was a 3 years kid at that time, Barry, and worked in a wide variety of assignments. And his current research concern the interrelationship between the forensic science and the law, along with the public policy issues concerning the timely delivery of the quality forensic support services to the criminal justice system. And he served as a member of the American Bar Association and criminal justice section of the ad hoc committee to ensure the integrity of the criminal processes. And is a member of many professional organizations, a distinguished person and a fellow and a past president of the American Academy of the Forensic Sciences, and was awarded with the Academy of the highest award, the Gradworth Medallion. So let us congratulate, and we are privileged to listen today, Mr. Barry, such a great academician, having done an excellent work in the area of the forensic science. And he has also served as the president of the International Association of Forensic Science and president of the American Society for the Crime Laboratory Directors, and the past chairman of the American Society of the Crime Directors and Laboratory Accreditation Board. And he's also the founding member and served as the board of directors of the National Forensic Science Technology Center for 1995 until 2007. And he has authored several books. He's a part of the several editorial boards. But when I'm looking for that, I'm very eagerly to read one of the book that was authored by Mr. Barry. That is something called Forensics Demystified. So this is a very good, excellent book. I remember I try to get that. If Barry can help us to get at least a e-copy, we are more than happy to get it and read it. So how the forensics can be demystified and introduction to the criminalistics, because that is, I think, what is required for the case of remember the students. I'll be very happy, and that too it has been published by a very great publishing company starting from McGraw-Hill. So Fisher has been a member of several editorial boards, the Journal of Forensic Sciences, the Journal of Forensic Identification, and Forensic Science Policy and Management. It's a very exhaustive and awesome. Barry, I'm very privileged to remember. I'm not going to chair this session, to be frank. I want to learn from you the many techniques as far as the forensics is concerned. I'm privileged to be a part and associate with you for this particular program. I'm looking forward to let's listen exactly what you are going to think about the strategic elements of the sexual assault investigation. So this is the topic Mr. Barry is going to discuss about. And it's a very right topic in our country, where if you look at the data presented by the National Crime Records Bureau, the number of sexual assault cases are increasing to a very great extent. Even India has come up with a great laws, etc., called Disha and all. Still, the number of the number of attacks against sexual assault against the women is increasing to a great extent. And the convictions have become very, very low in many cases. So that is where the topic Mr. Barry is chosen is very, very right. And the abstract, what was given by him is also awesome. And what it says is, we know physical evidence is really playing a very important role in the investigation, the prosecution of sexual assault cases. And I realize the importance of the physical evidence, especially after doing a forensic investigation as a central forensic laboratory for almost for 2.5 decades. And we know without tangible evidence, allegations of sexual assault crimes are often a matter of different concerns, and the victim as well as for the assailant. That's one point we should understand it. So what is the need of the hour? So developing a public policy must be accomplished through the discussion with the various stakeholders. So Mr. Barry is going to discuss us about, and the presentation is completely discusses the recommend the practices and the concepts used in sexual assault investigations. And effective sexual assault investigation contains elements of both public health and public safety actions, and the practices that must fit into, remember, an existing framework of legal infrastructure and societal settings for them to work. So thank you very much, for Mr. Barry, for agreeing on behalf of me and as well as on behalf of the organizers. I look forward to listen to your session. So Barry, please welcome.
One second. Oops. All right. Well, thank you very much for that introduction. It's a pleasure. Oops. Let me get rid of this thing here. Not too many things going on my screen, so.
No issue, Barry. It take a one time. You know, every technology is having a glitch, right?
Right. All right. So I'm going to speak today. I hope you can hear me and see my presentation about sexual assault cases. And I'm not going to get into the specifics of how to do DNA or how to run a sexual assault case in a forensic laboratory, but more of a policy kind of lecture. Let's see. So good morning, everybody. I'm speaking to you from my home in Indio, California, and I'm located about 200 k's east of Los Angeles. And it's as you can see from this picture up here, it's a desert community in an area called the Coachella Valley.
Okay.
Just a little bit about me. I'm originally from New York City. I studied chemistry, at the City University of New York, where I received a bachelor's degree, and then attended Purdue University in Indiana and got a master's degree in chemistry. And when I moved to Los Angeles, I went to school in the evening and took a Master of Business Administration. I joined the Sheriff's Department, the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department Crime Lab in 1969, which is a long, long time ago. And I served there and retired after 40 years of service, of which about 20 years was as the laboratory director. If you want to be in touch with me, you can link up with me on either Twitter at Barry A.J. Fisher or LinkedIn. What I try to do is to publish interesting, at least interesting to me, forensic articles that I come across either in scientific journals or in the news media. And speaking of the news media, I've noticed over the last few years what's going on in India with regard to sexual assault cases. And to be kind, I think you could do a little better job than you're doing right now. And hopefully some of the things I'm going to talk about may help you towards that end. This is a daunting topic, and literally we could be speaking about it for months on end. So you have to realize that I'm just, in the short time that I'm given, just scratching the surface of the topic in this lecture. But what I hope to do is to give you some things to think about. This is one of the books that I've written on crime scene investigation. The other Fisher on the cover is my son David, who also went into the business, and he's a university professor in the East Coast. But I guess like he followed in his father's footsteps. This discussion I'm going to give is based partially on a chapter that I co-wrote with Dr. Philip Bay, Dr. Wendy Taylor, and myself about 3 years ago in a book called The International Systems Response to Sexual Violence, or actually sexual assault victimization across the lifespan. And if you get a hold of this, you can read what I'm saying in a little further detail. I've noticed in contacts with colleagues across the world that sexual assault related crimes are investigated and handled differently from one country to another. And to be clear, we're not just talking about rape, but we also are including child abuse, spousal abuse, elder abuse, and even human trafficking. All of these are under a broad umbrella of sexual assault, which I'm covering here today. Physical evidence tends to play a really important role in sexual assault cases, because without it, you typically get into a situation where both parties are claiming something happened. It's a he said, she said kind of thing, and it's difficult without some corroborative evidence to sort out exactly what happened. So physical evidence, in a way, helps to deal with that particular issue. And as I said before, this is a international problem, and it's not just a forensic science problem, but it has to do with law enforcement, medicine, the justice communities, and all of these have to be working together in concert to effectively deal with the problem. You just can't have the police or hospital emergency rooms handling these things alone. It's much more complex than that. And there are other elements besides the criminal element. There's a public health element. There's the physical health and emotional well-being of the victim. These types of crimes take on a horrific toll on individuals. And I urge you, if you ever have a chance to speak with a sexual assault victim, it is truly an eye-opening experience. You will just be amazed about what victims have gone through, not only the physical trauma, but the emotional trauma that they've had to endure in handling their assault. And as I alluded to just a little while ago, this is truly a multi-agency approach, which requires cooperation and coordination of all of the various stakeholders that are responsible for these types of cases. And these include the hospitals, the medical professionals, the police, the prosecutors, and even the courts and the lawmakers. So stakeholder training and education is certainly a requirement of dealing with these types of cases. All of the players have to have adequate education and understanding of what their role is, as well as what all of the other roles are. Oftentimes these protocols don't exist, and it's important for some level of government, either local, state, or national, to work towards developing strategies and laws concerning these types of cases. And it's a very complex thing. And if you're just doing this at the local level, at a city, you need to get the state involved. And if it's just the state, you need to get the whole country involved in doing these things. I alluded earlier that DNA is highly important, and I understand that India is just at the early stages of developing a DNA database. You need to recognize that there are two elements to these crimes. There's the convicted sex offender element, where people who've been convicted of crimes get samples collected and placed into a database, and also the element of testing the DNA sample in a specific case and then comparing it against the DNA database. There are so many different people that are involved in dealing with these kinds of crimes, and I've just listed off the top of my head a few of them. You have the physicians. Many hospitals and doctors are starting to rely on using forensic nurses, which are nurses that have been specifically trained in how to deal with rape victims, with collecting evidence, with properly documenting and storing it for later examination by the police forensic laboratory. Many countries use victim advocates. These are individuals, oftentimes with backgrounds in psychology, to help the victim go through the early stages of the process. Of course, the police are very important in this and in their ability to deal with these kinds of crimes. And police are often a very difficult portion because of this. Many police officers are male, and sometimes men don't appreciate the trauma that these crime victims are going through, and they I remember early on in one case I worked on that the police report that accompanying the evidence had a statement written in the report by the police officer investigating the crime that he didn't really believe the victim because she wasn't as distraught or falling apart, weeping and crying about the crime that she had complained about. She seemed to be rather stoic, and he felt that this was not, there's something wrong there. And of course, prosecutors, lawyers ultimately have to deal with this. And this is not only the public prosecutors, but the defense attorneys and the courts are all engaged in these kinds of cases. But collaboration is the absolute key to all of this. If the various players are unable to cooperate fully with one another, the whole process does not work as well as it could. And there's a big difficulty because you have people in different parts of the public health and public safety system that are oftentimes not familiar with or not used to engaging with their counterparts. And it's not only that, but they may have different technical languages or jargon to describe what it is that they're dealing with. So it's particularly important to begin to develop these relationships between the various representatives of the system. And if there are no clear policies involved, you need to start bringing individuals together in small groups and then larger groups so they can sit down and talk about their particular role in the system. As I said earlier, sometimes these groups are speaking different languages. They're speaking the same language, but they don't understand one another. I learned early on that we would call these oftentimes women who went through a sexual assault or rape crime victims, people in the public health or the public health regime would frequently call them as survivors. So it's just a different way of discussing about these different people. You have to find the champions out there, the people who are willing to go the extra mile, the extra distance to get things moving, whether it's started already or it's a very early beginning process. The individuals who take up the gauntlet to begin to work on these challenges and get people together to sit down and discuss with one another and understand what's going on. That's oftentimes the key to effective sexual assault strategies. And oftentimes, if you can, I've been amazed that there are some, at least in my area, that there's some crime victims who are so passionate that they want to get something done that they're willing to sit down with anybody who will listen and work with the police, the forensic laboratories, the hospitals, and get things done. And you would be amazed if you saw some of these people testifying before legislative bodies about the experience that they've had in these cases. I have one woman who I've befriended over the years who talked about how she was asleep one evening. She was a single parent, and her child was in another room. And she woke up to have this rapist on top of her with a knife in his hand at her throat. And he said to her that if you just shut up and lie back and take it, I'll kill you and your child. So when legislators and other officials that deal with these kinds of crimes hear these kinds of stories, it really is an eye-opening experience for them. There are also all kinds of international bodies that can provide help in putting together effective programs. You have groups like the World Health Organization, the UNODC, Office of Drugs and Crime, Interpol, International Association of Forensic Nurses. All of these places have programs that they've developed, and typically they're very willing to share their processes, their policies, their procedures, and you can take these and kind of twist them to best fit into your particular scenarios. In addition, police agencies may have specialized units that deal with the investigation of sexual assault crimes, and medical personnel, public health personnel should seek out these individuals to work closely with them. If a region only has limited expertise in these areas, what can be done is to just establish an informal stakeholder group and bring together the various people with an effort to develop some worthwhile practices and policies. And that's what I meant earlier when I talked about people who are willing to pick up the ball and run with it, who are champions, if you will. So beyond this need of cooperation and collaboration, there's a whole host of other things in the area of public policy. And here I mean legislation. If there is not adequate legislation on the books to deal with these various types of crimes, it makes it just that much more difficult. And on top of that, you have the region's social and political norms. I'm sorry to say that some places just don't consider these crimes terribly important to deal with. I was lecturing in Mexico several years ago and talking with a forensic doctor there about sexual assault cases, and there the onus was completely on the crime victim. She had to find the right place to go to. She just couldn't go to any emergency room, hospital, but only certain ones were set up to collect evidence in these cases. And nobody seemed to know what to do, and she would have to just stop and do research on her own to find out where to go, and there's just something the matter with that. One thing that you can do to move this task is to have the appropriate government department overseeing this program, and different countries and regions will do it differently. It could be in the Ministry of Health or the Ministry of Justice, or even a merger of these two to develop best practices and the protocols to deal with these kinds of cases. Examples of these things are a listing of questions that is asked of the crime victim, or standardization of the sexual assault evidence kits. So different regions are not just doing things on their own, and requirements for the collection of DNA. I've been pretty passionate about these cases, and I started off very early in my career when I recognized that there were no standard sexual assault kits, that each hospital, the emergency department that was collecting evidence from sexual assault victims or patients would be collecting it in a different way. And some of them were just not at all usable. So to deal with that, I and a couple of other people in my lab developed a standardized sexual assault kit for Los Angeles County, which has a population of about 8 million people. And getting that sorted out and produced and shipped out to all of the various hospitals in our area was a fairly complex thing to do. Society's willing to deal with these things is a big issue that needs to be addressed. I would call them culture norms. In some areas, there's this notion of honor killing. You know, that if a woman does something wrong, then she needs to be killed, or this notion of male sexual entitlement, family honor. All of these things tend to foster a culture or a society of sexual assault, and you need a pretty robust educational program to deal with these kinds of things if they are indeed factors in your community. And these things have to be dealt with the appropriate policymakers and sexual assault advocates. And of course, coming to DNA now, DNA has made major inroads into how we are able to deal with sexual assault cases. They need to be a standardized national DNA database, which undoubtedly is going to require some kind of legislation to achieve. You just can't snap your fingers and assume that everything is going to work out. It takes a lot of effort to develop these laws to deal with this. And on top of that, you're going to find that there are going to be civil libertarian groups who will voice concern that the government is gathering too much genetic information on its citizens, and there'll be a certain amount of pushback and unwillingness to allow it to grow as robustly as it could be. There's questions of standardization. Who should be overseeing the DNA testing on the national DNA database? Is it the individual state and regional forensic labs, or is this something that the national lab has to be in charge of dealing with? These, again, are all the various issues that need to be worked on to effectively deal with that. So this is not an easy thing to do this. It's helpful in developing these programs to consider these. And as I said earlier, there are many international forensic bodies that are available to help out if you want to reach out to accomplish that, or you can certainly go it alone. There is a trove of stuff that's been published in the literature to handle that, and you just need people to sit down and go through it and decide what it is you want to do. Before I wrap this up, I also wanted to point out that there's a decision that at some point you will have to make about collecting samples, which crime suspects should you be collecting samples from. Initially in our region, we started out with only the most violent crimes, and then after a few years it was lowered down to less violent crimes or crimes against property. And finally, there's been a push to collect samples from arrestees, much in the same way that when people are arrested for any type of crime, they are fingerprinted and photographed, and DNA ought to be collected. These are all issues that need to be carefully considered and worked on by each country in effectively dealing with this. So I want to thank you very much for your kind attention. As I said, there is a huge amount of issues to be dealt with. And now I'm going to open this up to Q&A, and let me get out of my thing here and back on the screen.
Thank you very much, Barry, for the nice session. And before I summarize, I would like some of the participants to have some questions before you. And before the participants, as a moderator, I to have one question. So I would like to ask you. We know today, one of the suggestions you are mentioning about the creation of the DNA database, right?
Yes.
There's a lot of privacy laws are coming in many parts of the world. So India is also in the process of coming out with the data privacy laws. And I know in the case of US, especially the California state is having a very, very stringent data privacy laws. So how can you balance the data privacy with respect to our DNA database creation? So that is where the real problem is coming. So coming with some legislation, the creation of the DNA database is an exception of the data privacy. I don't think the countries are going to, or the politicians are going to agree for it. So I would like to seek your views exactly. How can you balance the DNA database with the data privacy laws?
Well, certainly California is one of the most liberal states in the United States. And it was difficult initially to get this thing started. And initially, we had to demonstrate how valuable DNA could be in these kinds of cases. And we started off small. As I said, we started just there was no appetite to just start testing everybody. So we said, okay, let's just start collecting samples of the most serious crimes, the murder cases, the sexual assault cases, the kinds of cases that the public is just unwilling to accept, and something has to be done. And once we got that started and we were able to demonstrate the effectiveness and the value of doing that, over a period of years, we kept pushing forward in small incremental steps. And I can't begin to explain the importance of having individuals who are passionate about doing something along these lines. We would, I mentioned about crime victims, we would, in the US, and I imagine it's similar in India, when legislation is before a particular body, there will be public hearings, and various people will be called on to testify. I guarantee you, if you get some rape victim who can effectively describe what happened to them, there won't be a dry eye in the House. And that has at least in our case, that had a very effective way of dealing with this this problem. You have to weigh the public benefit of these kinds of ways to investigate crimes versus the very legitimate concern that people have about their privacy rights. And within the law, there have to be ample safeguards to deal with this. So I mentioned in California, we have this, you can collect samples on the arrest of an individual, which a lot of people were not very happy about, particularly those that are in concerned about civil liberties. And what we did was we put in the law that if the case went forward and the person was either the case was not prosecuted, or the defendant was found not guilty of the crime, that DNA would be expunged, removed from the government records. So that seemed to make people a little more happy about dealing with those kinds of things. But it takes a tremendous effort. You need to have countless meetings with all of the different players there, and you need to find those people that are the true believers, who really are passionate about getting this thing off the ground. And as I said earlier, I've read a few of the stories, the news stories coming out of India, and there's nothing to be proud of the way some of these victims have been dealt with, and the seeming inability for the authorities to take appropriate action, and that needs to be dealt with.
Okay. Thanks for a detailed explanation, Barry. There was one question from one of the participants, Mr. Pranay Dubey. The question is, if we create a DNA database, how DNA evidence can be compared in different parts of country or a state? Is there a way to convert the DNA into digital data?
Okay, the secret in doing that is everybody has to be using the same methodologies and procedures. You can't have one state using one procedure, different chemicals, looking at different parts of the DNA genome, and ever hope to compare it with another state who may be using a different procedures. So in the U.S., the federal government, the FBI, has taken over oversight of the national database, and even certifying all of the various forensic laboratories in the U.S. And there's hundreds of them who analyze DNA, sexual assault evidence, and put it into the database. I'm not a computer whiz, and I don't understand the inner workings of how that all works, but it works, and you can get answers pretty easily. Of course, the difficulty in these searches is if you have multiple actors in a case, we call them gangbangs, where you have 2, 3, 4, 5 different assailants, and how do you sort out which of the DNA samples that you're dealing with? There's some software out there that's being developed. I think the UK has developed some stuff that seems to be promising, but Again, there needs to be a national working group of forensic specialists to deal with that kind of issue.
Right. I would like to add here one more point to Mr. Pranab Dubey. Like Mr. Barry has mentioned, even in India also the forensic laboratories are going for NABL accreditation. So where they try to use the standard methods for the collection of the samples, for the analysis of the samples. And whatever the samples they collect, they push it into something called a data lake. Data lake is a place where you can push the huge amounts of data. Then you can use the data mining techniques. Using the data mining techniques, you can pull it and you try to compare that. Even to what extent you can compare the big databases also. Slowly remember, you are getting AI-based, artificial intelligence-based trained algorithms are coming, by which the databases you can able to compare, you can generate the results out of that. So an excellent work is already going. So creation of the huge databases, using the data mining techniques to pull the data and comparing the data by using artificial intelligence and a well-trained algorithms by which you can able to compare and give the output. So that if the algorithm is perfectly trained, the chances of error is very, very less. So that is where there is nothing called as a false positive, or you can call it as something as a positive negative. To get the high accuracy of the results, a well-trained AI-based machine learning techniques, already many investigators are using it. I think my friend Mr. Wagmore in the next session is going to also throw more light exactly how AI and ML can be used to identify a ballistic specifically, so that the chances of error to be at practically is a very, very low. That's where the standard techniques are coming to standardize the technique and standardize the processes. The national accreditation of NABL laboratories, that's how we are getting it. I think Mr. Wagmore also will go some light some on specifically. So I would like to, I think, if any other participants is not available, there is one more person has asked the question, sir. If you transplant bone marrow, how we study the DNA for individually? I don't know. Mr. Barry is having any expertise in the case of DNA. I don't have to be frank, any expertise in the area of the DNA. But the question the gentleman is asked is, if you transplant bone marrow, okay, it's probably marrow, I think, how we study the DNA for individuality? I have no answer for this.
Well, it's not only a question of DNA, of bone marrow DNA. It's a question of if somebody recently had a transfusion, and looking at these samples. The answer to the question is I don't know. That's getting too far into the details for my background is more of a forensic manager, and that's something I would turn to my experts on.
Okay. If there is no question, I'd like to thank Barry for taking his time and giving his valuable suggestions. So I would like to summarize. As Barry has said that for effective and efficient, remember, sexual assault investigations for a positive rate. So we require to have various strategic elements. As he rightly said, the most important among all them is having a very good cooperation, collaboration, coordination between the various specially trained professionals. So as he rightly mentioned today, it may be one of the reasons why the conviction rates are really coming down in India, especially in the case of sexual assault investigation. So your point is well noted, and probably the authorities are going to, after the conference, they're going to make a note of these points to submit to the governments, etc. Exactly identification of who are all the various stakeholders involved in sexual assault investigations, and bringing them together, what type of cooperation required, what type of collaboration is required, what type of coordination is required, and developing a public policy and creating based on that a framework and a strategy. As you rightly said, lack of public policy, legislation, and establishing of the infrastructure, right? So these three are the impediments today as on date, especially for the sexual assault investigations. So point was well noted. As an academician, as a learner, I'm very happy to get these points. Thank you, Barry. Thank you for sparing your valuable time. And thanks a lot, remember, for contributing to the wider community of the forensic science. And last but not the least, I have shared my
LinkedIn request you. I'm very happy to associate with you. I'm looking forward to associate in the future. Thanks a lot, Barry. Thanks on behalf of me and thanks on behalf of the participants. And
Now,
the
Mr.
Thank you.
Sastry, now I would like to say something about this thing.
Please, Dr.
Because I
Gautam.
could not get chance, so I could not interfere in it. So first of all, Mr. Berry, I am very much glad to have to triple as triple B. I have gone through your lecture, and Mr. Sastry has talked about the NABL accreditation of the laboratories. But the problem is this, we are expecting everything from the forensic scientist. India is a large country, and the police personnel are collecting the samples. We are expecting the NABL and the 100% accurate results from the forensic scientists. But we are getting the samples which are not being collected by the person, by the scientists. Then how we can expect Mr. Sastry can tell, and Mr. Berry, both you please tell how this accreditation can be created.
Yeah, at least Dr. Gautam, good morning to you, because you are my long timer and you're also very serious member of the policy community. So the point number one is, as you rightly said, that's where the Barry has very clearly said, I require to have a strategy framework of collaboration of the various stakeholders. As you rightly said, today the field level investigators are different from that of the laboratory investigators, right? That is a big problem we are facing. So we require to have, remember, a properly specially trained personnel having a very good cooperation. That's where he said physicians, nurses, forensic nurses, social service personnel, victim advocates, police, forensic scientists, prosecutors, identify the various stakeholders and bring them together on a single platform and develop a strategy. That's where Mr. Barry has rightly said, you require to have a legislation, you require to have a setup exactly. And that setup, he said, it may be under the Home Ministry, or it may be under the Department of Justice, or it may be under the Department of Women, Social Welfare, you call it as any. Unless that type of legislation was not rolled out, such type of framework is not rolled out. Currently, what our NABL is only to standardize the process we are examining in the laboratory, not for the entire, remember, the investigation. So as Barry rightly put it, we require to have such a framework comprising of all the stakeholders. I think that is where the real trick is there. I fully agree, but that's what he said, and I'm also
no. But I will recall your memory. There is one book, Mr. R.K. Tiwari, Mr. Ravi, and yourself.
Yes.
Okay, I have seen that. And in the second chapter, I think, it is written that the forensic scientists should reach up to the police personnel, police constable. So the efforts have been made. Some reports have been given. And I am also agree with the Mr. Barry and yourself that our legislation should undertake this problem.
Yes.
And efforts have been made at that time when Mr. R.K. Tiwari Sahab was the chief forensic scientist. I am very much glad that Mr. Barry yesterday also discussed about the expert testimony, the responsibility of the forensic scientists, expert evidence. So really the combination of this legislation and this forensic science will certainly solve the problems of the criminal justice system. Thank you very much. Once again, on behalf of the university also. I'm really very happy to have you to this conference.
Thanks.
Well, the forensic science part of this whole business is an exceedingly small, almost microscopic portion when you compare it against the police and the medical community and the legislative community. But all of these different things seem to kind of, in a way, come together in the forensic part. And I have this this one quote that I came across many years ago, and it's very simple, made up of just 2-letter words. If it is to be, it is up to me. And if you are passionate about something and you worked hard to it, it can be accomplished. And nobody said any of this is going to be easy or straightforward. If it was that easy, it would have been done already. And, you just need to keep on working on it and find the people who agree with you on these issues and move forward. So I think we may be taking too much time from the other speakers, and I want to again thank everybody for their kind attention and their interesting points that they made.
Thanks, Barry. Look forward to.
Thanks, Barry, sir.
Yeah.
We will look forward for the next speaker. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. I would like to call the next speaker, Dr. Wagmore. And as I mentioned that myself and Dr. Wagmore was we worked together for more than 2 decades. I know Mr. Wagmore from the nuts and the bolts, to be frank. And Dr. N.P. Wagmore is a director currently at the Forensic Laboratory, Goa, from 2016 onwards. He completed his PhD in the ballistics from Jadavpur University, Kolkata. And he had more than 26 years of experience in the area of the forensic ballistics. It's an awesome experience because I've seen it, how he has developed the Kolkata Forensic Laboratory, then sometime he has worked in Hyderabad Forensic Laboratory, and how he is able to develop the forensic ballistics in this area with the active support of the very senior members like Dr. M.S. Rao and others. And he's also a very good academician, not just he's going to do the casework. Very rarely I found this type of quality in many of the forensic scientists is not currently available. He's a very good academician that he has published more than 70 research papers in the area of ballistics. And recognizing his services he has rendered for the forensic community, especially for the Directorate of Forensic Science Services for the whole nation. He has been awarded with the Union Home Minister's Award for the meritorious service, and is the youngest awards also for outstanding work he has done in the area of forensic physical sciences. Dr. Wagmore, I'm very honored, remember, to work with you, to associate with you for more than 2.5 decades, even though I'm not part of the forensic community today, but it's my privilege to be part with you. And I look forward to listen from you. And Mr. Wagmore is going to cover the topic, something called the modern trends in investigation of forensic ballistics. It's a very, very new topic. I would like to listen exactly what are the new trends that are coming out. And if possible, I can also associate with him to share some of my knowledge, especially in the area of AI and artificial intelligence and machine learning, creation of the huge databases, we popularly call it the data lake, how it is going to be useful in the purpose of the investigations. And what he's going to deliver in this, remember, 35 minutes of the time. So he's going to introduce something about the small arms and the ammunitions and how you can determine the distances and identification of the firearms by bullet and empty cartridge cases and GSR analysis and IB system. I remember that that coin people used to talk about a decade back when Dr. M.S. Rao and other senior people were there as a part of, remember, forensic community, Dr. Tiwari and all. So what is this IB system and what was the importance of the ballistic evidence at the crime scene? Thank you very much on behalf of the organizers and on behalf of me, Dr. Wagmore, for accepting the invitation of the university for conducting this session. So I look forward to you, and the floor is now yours. Dr. Wagmore, you are not audible. Aish, can you make?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So you're not audible.
Wagmore, it seems some issue at your end because the organizers have the view that you are not on mute.
So there has been some technical issue from that side.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Probably the issue is too much consumption of the bandwidth.
Yes,
probably I will try to go off from the video mode so that, at least if you go off on the video mode, you can save to a great extent, remember the bandwidth, right?
Okay, sir. Sir, he left the meeting, sir.
Yeah, probably he will rejoin again. Let us wait it for a second. Okay.
Yes, sir. No, sir. Your voice is not audible, sir. No, sir. Sir, we haven't get your voice right now. No, sir, not yet.
I think it is coming very low, probably. Wakmare, or can you use from your mobile phone? Just click on the link, you can.
No, sir. No, sir. Sir, can you join from your mobile phone, sir? Sir, can you join from your mobile phone, sir? So just click on that link that have been provided by you. The reminder of plenary session second, sir. There is a reminder mail that have been sent by from our side, SVIFSIC, and in that you have seen click here to join. Sir, you have to click here to join. That has been mentioned in the mail. Sir, can you please do one thing? Yes, sir. Sir, there is speaker icon is in your display in your LCD. You just a second, sir. Let me show you. So you have to click on the speaker link, sir. Speaker, and then you have to raise the volume of your speaker, sir. Is it 100%? Okay, sir. Sir, have you joined from your mobile phone? So is there any problem to join from your mobile also?
Ayush, you please call Wagmare sir.
Okay, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Ayush.
Yes, sir.
What happened?
Sir, there has been some technical issues from their end, sir.
Oh.
Yes, sir. Just give me a minute.
Now he's trying, but I think he's unable to.
Yes, sir. He is unable to join, sir.
Agmare sir.
Sir, kindly unmute yourself.
Myself.
No, sir. Wagmare, sir.
Bagmare sir.
Yes, sir.
Unmute. Bagmare.
सर की आवाज आई
नहीं रही है. There is something problem.
Yes, sir.
Your voice is not reaching to us.
Sir, please join with other device if you have. Wagmare sir.
चलिए तो नेक्स्ट स्पीकर कौन है?
Because it's not network issue, we can see him, na?
Ma'am, there has been some issue from device, or we can say that any sir, anything like that, sir. Ma'am.
उन्होंने वो attendee link से join तो नहीं किया आयुष?
No, ma'am. He is joined from panelist. उनको panelist का ही mail गया था, ma'am.
Don't worry.
All the participants are requested to be with us. It's just technical issue. We'll resolve it soon. In between, may I request Shastri sir to throw some light on cyber forensics? Shastri sir?
Yes, ma'am. I'll be more than happy to.
Yes, sir. Please.
Okay. Yeah, because in case if it got rectified, there's a reason why I'm looking for it. I'll be happy, no issue.
Yes, sir.
Can you share me the screen so that I'll give the presentation? Okay.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, you are able to see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So morning, everyone. I think Dr. Gautam knows very well about me. I don't require much introduction.
I know.
Before the things got settled down, let me be a speaker from the moderator of a session to a speaker of the session. Because
thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Yeah, because we know in the case of computer technology, we are having something called a BCM, that is called Business Continuity Management. So when there is something happens, what they should have something as a backup is the most important, right? For example, a bank server got hacked and the whole data got encrypted. And if the customers are not in a position to remember access the bank, the credibility of the bank is at risk. So that is where, remember, you are going to have something called as a very good backup. So this is, I'm going to take it. I'm more than happy. I got fortunate enough to share my thoughts in the area of the cyber crimes and the forensics. I worked for nearly 23 years with the government, and I moved from there to Tata Consultancy Services as a global head in the case of cybersecurity in the cadre of vice president. And 2016, I left my Tata Consultancy Services and I moved to some other companies called PricewaterhouseCoopers. From there, now I'm currently moved to something called Ernst & Young. So I'm in the role of the partner. I'm taking care of the cybersecurity for India, Middle East, as well as for some of the areas covering to the African continent. So I'm going to throw you light, remember exactly what was the meaning of the cyber crimes and here the forensics. Because I got a feeling that, remember, unfortunately, the word forensics, what you people are thinking about, is a completely different from what it should be forensics. Is it got rectified, madam? Is the... Can I go ahead? Or Mr. Okay.
No, sir, you please continue as time permits, sir. Yes.
Okay, sure. So I'm going to throw you exactly what is happening. So let us go for it, all the participants who are there. But I think everyone must have been kept in the mute condition. But probably I'm expecting answers from some other people like Mr. Gautam and other people, right? For some other question. Everybody, yeah, can you keep the things under mute? Okay. Okay. So every one of you might have done remember ATM transactions in your life, right? You went to an ATM center and you might have inserted the card, did something, PIN number, and you came out of that. I don't know how many have seen it. There are two varieties of the ATMs are available. In one set of ATM machines where once you insert the card, it will ask for the PIN number first. Then it is going to ask you some set of questions and finally money will come out, right? There is another set of ATM machines were there. Once you insert the card and give all the instructions, finally it is going to ask the PIN number. So have you come across two varieties of the ATM machines? The one which asks the PIN number first, there are certain machines which are going to ask the PIN number last. I don't know how many of you come across this. Between these two ATM machines, which ATM machine you thought of more safe and secure? Is any of the participant? Dr. Gautam or anyone? Is it the ATM which is asking for the PIN number first, or is it the ATM which is asking the PIN number last? Okay, I think you are on mute, sir, Dr. Gautam.
Yes. Krishna Shastri, there is one person in our faculty, Kamale. So this question, you please get answer from him.
Okay. No, I'm talking about as a citizen or a user of ATM. I'm not talking about. Okay. So which ATM you thought of more safe and secure?
The first pin is to be the safest one.
Okay. Now let us see the answer it is. This is something we did it in the year 2016 itself, because the way the fraudsters are thinking, you will get a very fair idea. So I hope you have heard about something called thermal camera. Thermal camera is a camera which converts the thermal energy into light energy, right? It means if there is some bomb blast happens, there is a temperature of 10,000 degrees at the point of blast. And if you are moving away from that place, the temperature is going to decrease. So if you take the photograph of that crime scene with a thermal camera, wherever in the photographic film there's a bright light is available, that bright light corresponds to maximum temperature. So that is a point where the bomb blast has happened. So that is one way, remember, the thermal cameras are getting used. Today, thermal cameras are also used in the airports after the COVID has come. So I hope you might have seen it. The scanners of thermal cameras are available, whether anybody's body temperature is how much, it's able to record it. So the same thermal camera, the sensors are available at a very cheaper rate. You can keep that sensor on the backside of your, remember, mobile phone, and you can install a thermal camera app in your mobile phone. It means your mobile phone can be also used as a thermal camera. Mr. Gautam went into an ATM center. He did his transaction and came out. So there was a board outside saying only one man is allowed. He went inside. He did his ATM transaction, came out. In less than 3 minutes, I entered into the same ATM center. I took the photograph of the keypad. By using the thermal camera, I know what are the 4 buttons he has pressed it. Because when you are pressing the keypad, please remember, it is not the heat that is getting transmitted from your finger. By pressing this button, the electrical energy will get converted into, remember, thermal energy. A part of the electrical energy of the buttons will get converted. So now if you take the photograph, the point where you are getting the brightest spot is maximum temperature. It means that may be the last digit. So I can be able to guess it. What are the 4 buttons? Remember, Dr. Gautam has pressed it. So this is how, remember, the criminals are getting the ATM PIN numbers. You'll be surprised to know it. The criminals are hardly class 10 failed or class 8 failed. They are not computer science engineers or anything. They are not computer savvy. So please remember, here it is. Based on this, what was the lesson is, if any ATM machine is having a PIN number first, after that you are going to press some more buttons. So the probability the fraudster is going to get your PIN number is less. So I can say the ATM machine having the first PIN number is slightly better than the ATM machine having the last PIN number. Second question. You might have seen two varieties of the ATM machines where there's a plastic buttons were there and the metallic buttons are available. Can you tell me between these two ATMs, which ATM is better? The one which is a plastic button or the one which is a metallic button? Probably your answer is something around what? Plastic
button.
Plastic.
But that is not correct answer. Because metal is going to dissipate the heat at a faster rate. So please remember, metal dissipates the heat at a faster rate. In the case of metallic, remember, the fraudster is having only 1 minute 32 seconds. He has to come inside. If it crosses, chances to get will be less. So the fraudster is having a window time of 1 minute 32 seconds. If he comes inside before that and takes the photograph, then he can get the PIN number. But in the case of plastic, he is having a time of 3 minutes, provided the air condition was maintained at 19 degrees centigrade, because that is also one of the variable. So today, excellent research has been done and papers are already produced. You can go to Google and type ATM PIN number plus thermal camera plus plastic versus metallic keypads plus air conditioned temperatures. So based on, if it is 18 degrees centigrade, how much time the fraudster is having, 90 degrees centigrade, how much time is having, 20 degrees, how much is having the time. So you are going to get, remember, a very good research papers and the research has been done. But fraudster is not even aware about any of these things. Let us go for some more. How many of you will go every day to your office and check what are the wires that got connected on the CPU of your computer? None of you will check. Dr. Gautam will come to office. There is a computer available on the table. So that computer on button, he is going to press it. He types his username, types his password. He types so many things. He visits some websites, downloads something, uploads something. At evening 6 o'clock, he will shut down the computer, will come back. Right, sir? You will agree?
Yes.
So let us assume today Dr. Gautam is going to, remember, type a very, very important confidential report related to Madhya Pradesh government. I know it is going to, he's so confidential. No one should know that one, and he's going to seal it in a cover and give it to the High Court Chief Justice. If I know he is going to type tomorrow morning from 9 o'clock in the office, I enter to his chamber at morning 7 o'clock itself to his office. We are all aware your keyboard is connected on the backside of CPU. Hope you will agree. Your keyboard is connected on the backside of your CPU. So what I am going to do, this small wire, which is available for 800 rupees, I'm going to connect one side to the keyboard and one side to that of the CPU. It means it acts as an intermediate between keyboard and what? CPU. So Mr. Gautam is not aware this wire was connected on the backside of his computer. I went to his, remember, chamber in the morning 7 o'clock. I connected this wire. Dr. Gautam came to office, switched on the button, typed the username and typed the password. Then immediately what will happen? He started working on that. He is not even aware this wire is connected. And evening 7 o'clock, he left his office. So 8 o'clock, I went to his chamber, took this small wire and brought it to my computer and connected. It is like a pen drive. It is stored 40 GB of the data. What it stores. At what time Mr. Gautam has switched on the machine, what he typed on the computer, remember, as a username, what is password, what he uploaded, what he downloaded, every button he has pressed on his computer, it will get recorded there. And this is popularly called hardware keylogger. So because of these hardware keyloggers, remember, the data stealing is happening. And what it can also store it, not only the keyboards, but also for every 5 seconds, it takes your Windows photograph, and that photograph is going to get stored inside the device as a JPEG file or an image file. It means because of, I don't know how many of you are aware, today when you are making a banking transaction, banks are advising the customers to don't use the keyboard, go for virtual keyboard. Are you agreeing, sir? I don't know how many of you are aware. Why they are asking you to go for the virtual keyboard? Because if you start using the normal keyboard, if at all this wire got connected on the backside of your CPU, it is going to record everything you are typing it. And even virtual keyboard is also not safe at all. If this wire is connected on the backside of CPU, Mr. Gautam is not aware. He came to office. He want to transfer some money from SBA from his account to his wife's account. He don't want to use the keyboard. He went for the virtual keyboard. Hope you are aware what is virtual keyboard, right?
Okay.
In the virtual keyboard, you are having a pin number 4216, for example. He don't require to type anything on the keyboard. He keeps the mouse on the 4 and clicks the button. And 1 and 6. Possible, right? Unless if I don't have the access to his computer, it is not possible. Do you agree, sir?
Okay.
Now, let us see, by sitting in Hyderabad, how can I steal information from Gautam? Mail to Dr. Gautam with the subject is International Conference on Forensic Science. And the second, Mr. Gautam has seen that mail having a subject of international conference. He is going to open that mail. That mail is having, remember, an attachment. What that attachment is nothing but a Word document. And that Word document, he tried to click on that to see what was the content of that international conference and who are all the speakers. So he clicked that, remember, Word document, and he started looking that, remember, who are the speakers and all. By that time, once he clicks on that, a spyware enter into his computer system. That spyware is going to capture what are all the things Dr. Gautam is typing on his computer system and send it to the attacker's computer system. So this is popularly called software keylogger. Earlier one is called hardware keylogger. So using hardware keylogger, I should have access to Dr. Gautam's room chamber. And if you are having a software keylogger, any fraudster can send this one from any part of the world to anybody's computer system. If Gautam is not using the latest antiviruses, etc., and this software keylogger will get installed in his house computer system or the office computer system, and every activity he's doing on his computer will get recorded and I can able to get it. This is how the information stealing is happening. So I'm going to explain you really what the forensics. Today, unfortunately, forensics in the forensic laboratory means somebody will send a mobile phone or somebody is going to send a hard disk. You will make a copy of that one. You take the printout of that one and burn it in a CD, and unfortunately, we are giving it. That is not really called the forensics. That is the 1970s or 1990s forensics. Today, it is not what is really required. And please again remember, I am telling you this point. Cyber forensics, what the forensic laboratories today they are doing is completely called offline. It means after something happens. But today what the industry is looking is not the reactive forensics, from the reactive something called proactive forensics, from there something called predictive forensics. For example, all of you are, look at it, have a Facebook account, all of you may be having Twitter or LinkedIn, etc. Every day you are going to type something around. Are you aware? Let us say scenario. Dr. Gautam opened a Facebook account and he is going to remember, keep all the god temples like Shiva temple in Varanasi, Shiva temple in, remember, Rishikesh, Haridwar and all that. From the last 1 year, he is regularly remember watching the Facebook and he always keeps only the god photographs. I'm very much interested in the guns. So I opened a Facebook account on my name And I'm going to keep all crime stories, all various types of guns, all types of crime, remember, related stuff only. I will like it. Tomorrow, myself and Gautam went for US Embassy for the purpose of visa. Gautam visa will get approved and my visa will get rejected. Are you aware? Everything you are posting on your social media, people are studying the psychology of the individual, what type of person he is. Is he having, remember, any mentality or the psychology related to the crime? They are looking at it. Today, in some countries, the visas, the passports, everything is getting given based on what you are typing on the Facebooks, what you are typing on the blogs, what you are typing on the other social networking sites, Twitter, etc. So please be cautious about it. That is something called the predictive forensics. You know, some companies, before they start hiring an employee, they're coming and asking, sir, I will give you that person's Gmail address. I will give you that person's remember social networking, Facebook account, LinkedIn, and all that. Can you study the psychology of this person? Can I hire that person to my company as a job or not? Or is there any danger available with him? And that is something where the predictive is coming to picture. So please remember today, the forensics is not simply remembers what you think of as a reactive forensics. From the reactive forensics, we are all moving to something called a proactive forensics. From proactive, people went to predictive forensics. That is where I'm going to use later, if the time permits, something called open source intelligence called OSINT. I don't know how many of you heard about this word called OSINT. Today, open source intelligence has become a very, very important concept where, please remember, open source intelligence is widely, very, very widely used, remember, okay, and by several people. So I don't know, I came to know Mr. The next person has joined from, I will take for the next 1 minute and I'm going to remember take it to the other people because we don't have much time to really discuss about all the topics. So what I would like to look at, today you are not even aware about it. So what you are thinking today, cyber forensics means you are thinking about only something where police will seize a mobile phone and send it to you for the purpose of data retrieval. But today it's a very, very big potential market is there. Hope you might have seen from the last 4 or 5 months, the major cyber attacks that are happening it is. You know, there is a one company called Cognizant, which is like an IT company. It got impacted with the ransomware and approximately 50 to 70 million is the loss, so many dollars that was involved because the whole data got encrypted. And after COVID-19 has come and everybody started working from home, the number of cyber attacks against the organizations have become very, very high. Please remember this point. And today, cyber attacks has become a geopolitical issue. When you don't have a good relationship with your neighboring countries, they're also trying to attack our computer system to a great extent. And Chinese hackers are attempting the Indian space. In the last, remember, after the Galwan incident that has happened, more than 40,000 attacks, remember, is they're trying to target on India. So all Indian government organizations, all private organizations are getting impacted to a great extent, remember, as a part of cyber attacks. And really remember that is where cyber security has become a very important topic today. And for cyber security, in case of any cyber attack happens, how that attack has happened, what was the reason why that has happened, what security controls that are currently missing, that is where the cyber forensics has become an important task. So please remember today, cyber forensic is not just used by the law enforcement agencies. The companies are using cyber forensics. In case of cyber attacks happens on them, to understand the answers for 5 W's, that is when, what, where, why, who. What was the reason why that particular security incident has happened? What was the root cause? What gaps are available in the security policies, procedures, technologies that got adopted today? And what remedial measures they are supposed to take it? Tomorrow, same incident should not happen again. That is what the companies are really looking for it. So my sincere request for all of you is, don't look at the cyber forensics just from the law enforcement perspective. It's a very, very wide market. I can say cyber forensics for the law enforcement is only 1%, and 99% is industry is looking for it. Second point, it's not only the number of job opportunities. Second point is the salary of the cyber forensic of a government employee is 1%. The salary of a private person who is in the cyber forensic is that multiplied by 99 times. I'm the, remember, best example for that. I'm not supposed to look at, remember, my 25 years of my GPF, which I saved, is today I'm paying as a tax per annum.
Very good.
So that is where I'm telling you, youngsters have to come up. This is what lesson I would like to talk about, remember, for the youngsters who are participating here. Please come up. Cyber forensic is a very good market. And for the teachers who are fraternity of this particular conference, my sincere request, don't teach cyber forensics only from the law enforcement perspective. Teach from the industry's perspective. Teach from the cyber security's perspective. There is a huge potential market is there. There's a very, very big and huge demand is available. So thank you very much. If any time permits, I'll be more than happy after some days. Remember, need not be for only this particular conference. I'm more than happy to share my views. Exactly what is you really required to improve yourself in the cybersecurity market. Thank you, Dr. Kavita. Thank you, Dr. Gautam and other people.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
I look forward.
I would like to add one thing. Actually, we need such type of a lecture. I am very much impressed with the Shastri. I know his talent, and he has proved it today, because I have not listened before this. I know him, and I think it is our duty that he should be called again to our university.
Fill in the blanks is fulfilled now by Shastri sir. Thank you very much, sir. This time was for cyber forensics particularly, and you did it very, very carefully, very nicely, sir. Thank you, sir.
So Krishna, we will call you again also. You
Yes,
should
sir.
be prepared.
Yes.
Right. So I'm privileged. I think my another speaker has joined, I suppose, madam. Is it correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So let me introduce Mr. Om Ezi. I think probably I'm pronouncing, I don't know, is it correct pronunciation or the wrong pronunciation?
Om is correct, sir.
Okay, and thanks a lot. Welcome, Om, on behalf of the organizers and on behalf of the forensic community of India. We look forward to hear from you, especially in the area of, remember, forensics of a biological, remember, weapons use. It's an excellent topic and is a need of the hour. And I'm fortunate enough to look at our profile. I'm very much impressed. And all the, remember, the participants that are very, very eager to look and hear from you what you are going to throw it for the entire forensic community in general and the students in particular, and as well as for the, remember, the teacher community who are the part of this conference and your international experience. So I'm very fortunate to introduce to you all Mr. Oma. Welcome, Oma. Can Aish or someone throw the slide? Next speaker, I think Mr. Darren could not come.
Good morning from here. Can everybody hear me?
Yeah, we are able to hear you, Om. Can
you hear me?
Yeah, we are able to hear you. Can you briefly introduce yourself, Om? Due to the lack of time and the paucity of time, I don't want to introduce to a very extendable manner. I'll be more than happy if you can introduce yourself.
Okay. My name is Uwom Eze. I'm the chief consultant at the University College Hospital and the head of the forensic unit. And I've had the privilege of working across the world, and also had the honor of also working in India before I progressed to the context. So it's my pleasure to be here this morning in my time zone, courtesy of my good friend's invitation, Dr. Kavita. And it's just to share with you within a short time some thoughts on recent advances in forensic science and how we can work together as we approach a new normal in the world of today. So I'm going to be taking about 15 to 20 minutes to just share these thoughts with you, and then we see how far we can go. I hope my audio is still very clear.
You are very clear, Om. Please go ahead.
Excellent.
Okay. Yes.
So I think that we should take a little bit of forensics as biological weapon use. Early this year, we just witnessed something we had not witnessed in the past 100 years. And it changed the world the way we've never known before. In fact, the reason for this conference online could be traced to this new normal that we have right now, whereby we are unable to do and live lives just like we were living before. We all gone through lockdowns. We don't mix up with people as we were before. And so we have a new normal. And then that brings the forensic community to the concept of looking at the reality of the forensics of biological weapon use and the role the forensic practitioners can play in ensuring that we are prepared and we have a high index of suspicion. Hello. So what are the imperatives? We've got to bear in mind that the threat of biological weapon use is real. It is not something that it's within the realm of fiction. It's real. And some of you may also know that there were initial controversies about the origin of the SARS virus, that is the causative agent for COVID-19. I mean, the jury is still out there, but of course, initially, early in the year, there were speculations about possibility of laboratory error, some mutations jumping from animals to human, and there were a lot of speculations about the origin and the etiopathogenesis of the infection. Of course, we're learning more about it, but we have to understand that even from the Cold War era, there's been the threat of state-sponsored weapon of mass destruction. And we've also had smaller scale issue motivated biocrime. Many of you may remember the anthrax attacks of late 2001, shortly after the 9/11 in the US, where there were about 23 cases that were involved. Unfortunately, 5 people lost their lives. And that galvanized the whole United States into looking into certain directions about the possible origin. Of course, we know that with the benefit of hindsight, there were errors that were made in being able to tie the source of such infection. The Middle East was a big suspect because of 9/11. But you and I know now that it was actually something from more local. And so how were they able to miss it? And that brings to the fore the essence of the forensics of biological weapon use, whereby practitioners and forensic scientists, we need to look at the framework in case investigation. In India and in all parts of the world, forensic scientists need to begin to look for the forensic science framework in case investigation. Because unlike other types of weapon, biological weapon use can come in insidiously, and it is not something like an explosion that you can see. Sometimes it could just be an insidious onset, and then people begin to see a pattern of clinical manifestation. And sometimes before we respond, it is already too late. So the key imperative is that there is a need for forensic science community to develop a framework in case investigation, because the experience from the US shows that it is very easy to make a mistake, and that could be there are cost implications in such mistakes. So we need to look at the framework. And then the whole concept of biocrime is founded on the use of biological agents for criminal ends, such as homicides, extortions, political gain, or terrorism. So while I was listening to the cyber forensics and the cyber attack, while we're looking at the virtual aspect of invasion of our economy, of our private life, of our businesses. We also have to look at the biological implication of invasion of our own lives. And the global pandemic is a wake-up call for all forensic practitioners of the dangers in the modern world and how disruptive our biological weapon could be if it is introduced in the form and in the nature that it will be very pervasive across the world. So what are the dynamics in biocrime and in forensics of biological weapon use? One is to understand the causative agents. And in regular crime, you have a criminal who had committed a crime, and then we're going after the criminal. But in biocrime, we actually have causal agents, not only the perpetrator, but also the biological agent. So there is a need for us now to establish the link, a connection between the biological agent and the biological consequences, between the perpetrator and the criminal outcome, and between the criminal and the biological agent. Now you can see the burden is increased, and it also imposes on us more responsibility and need to apply fine-tuned forensic science framework in being able to establishing this capability, in making the strong connections between biological agents and its consequences, perpetrators and criminal outcome, perpetrator and biological agent. Now, in our own context, I will share experience. When COVID-19 started, at the time, it became imperative for us to be able to distinguish COVID-19 from a certain cohort, different from COVID-19 from a different cohort, especially in circumstances where there are accusations that perhaps in a hospital environment that healthcare workers have infected inadvertently the patients. So how do we prove that? Then we need to be able to have a profile of the kind of virus that is isolated from the patient and maybe from a healthcare worker who has shown symptoms, and being able to have a genetic profile that links and ensure that we have the same family tree of the virus that is isolated from a healthcare worker and the virus that is isolated from a patient in a hospital setting, for example. And now, you know, obviously that comes with certain responsibility because there may be liability. The relations can sue that the hospital or the healthcare worker have not taken adequate care in protecting them from infection. So you can see, even if it's not in the context of biocrime, even in medical error, there is a need for the forensic science community to build that strong nexus between biological agent and its consequences. Because mainly saying that someone has tested positive has not answered the question, where does the virus come from? Without asking and providing information to the community and to the world about the origin of this biological agent, it is very difficult for us to be able to make that established and time-honored forensic standard that we have to match a perpetrator with an agent. And so that's the challenge that the forensics of biological weapon use imposes. So forensic science community, while we're working in the new world that we are right now, we need to look at having to build a system that establishes this capability and strong connection. And then threat assessment. It is very important for us to begin to look at threat assessment very carefully. Now, in India and in many parts of the world, you understand that there are laboratories, microbiology laboratories, virus laboratories. In the past, you could just look at these laboratories and say, oh, this is a research laboratory, this is a medical laboratory. But the forensic community, we need to have a second look at how we look at these laboratories. Because if there is going to be even an accident, we need to be able to understand the location, the security around these locations, and the personnel. The good fellow that just presented on cyber forensics talks about building profile of predicting who will be the next criminal, or the profile of a staff to be employed just by what they post online. And so we need to look at not only the location, but even the profile of people that are involved in biological agents, even for research purposes or for medical purposes. So in the past, we are now having some quiescent threats. In the past, there was real obvious threat of possibility of use of biological weapon for war. But the Cold War then receded, and then we had a kind of receding threat. But in this present 2020, we are having emerging threats with COVID-19 that it is very obvious now to actors that there's a possibility that an agent can be weaponized and could be used for worldwide purpose and disrupt not only one country, but the entire world. So threat assessment is one of the things we need to develop tools. The forensic science needs to develop tools in assessing threat. And the threat cannot be a global assessment. You need to contextualize your assessment. What is the assessment in India? And even within India, what is the assessment in Mumbai? What is the assessment in Delhi? Because you have to do environmental scanning and mapping of all the laboratories and actors and people that are involved, even in legal laboratory biological weapon experiment or laboratory work. Because it is from some of these sources that we can have rogue agents or even laboratory accidents that can result into biological threat. So threat assessment is very key in moving forward in this direction. And then we have to look at the public health versus the forensic investigation. Now, we've been running several months trying in the task force to nip COVID-19 in the board. But we have to look how we interact. It's a multidisciplinary approach. The forensic community, we need to interact with public health and authorities in being able to look at some of the items for consideration. And so if we compare it for public health investigation, we need to analyze available information. And then for forensic investigation, we need to identify scene of crime and broad nature of hazard. What kind of hazard is this? And I'm going to talk shortly about that, because the hazard may not be a microbe, the hazard may even be a toxin. And then we have to initiate search procedure. That's what we've been doing in surveillance. We need to have strong surveillance system in the public health sector. And for the forensic, we need to look at the preliminary assessment by investigating staff of what they have assessed, whether this has maybe accident or it is with criminal intent. And then we have to establish a cordon. And we have had to close schools and businesses and some enterprises because there is a strong suspicion by public health experts that this is a focus, a nexus for the infection that is in the community. And so for the forensic community, the same thing, investigation, the same thing applies to establish cordon and record appearance of crime scene. And then for public health, we need to have early identification of nature of hazard. And for forensic investigation, we have to have forensic sample collected and start chain of evidence so that we can tie samples to specific site, to specific time, to specific context. And of course, risk reduction and or neutralization in public health with interventions that is done. But for forensic investigation, there needs to be a robust interview of bystanders and witnesses, and also good forensic lab tests that will not just give you positive or negative, but may go further into giving you the profile. And of course, we need to develop hypotheses. And developing hypothesis is a skill. It's a skill that forensic science practitioners we need to develop. It has to be hypothesis built on objective analysis of all the facts and figures available to you. It cannot be hypothesis based on your suspicion or your prejudice and biases. We need to look at all the records that are in place and then develop hypotheses about where and what and if what is the intent for this kind of biological features that we are seeing in a possible incident. So if we look at bioagents and the potential use, we can see that there are microorganisms and there are biotoxins. And the popular ones for warfare that has been tried by some rogue agents include Bacillus anthracis, Brucella species, Coxiella bonentii, Francisella tularensis, smallpox, and viruses of encephalitis. And then if you look at the terrorism and biocrime, you can see even Ascaris, the same Bacillus anthracis, HIV, even viral hemorrhagic fever. In West Africa, in about 2014, there was this epidemic of viral hemorrhagic fever, and many people died. So we have to have people not only within countries, but even at border stations, looking at some of these bioagents and their potential use, and being able to detect whether in person or through containers, whether any transfer of any of these microorganisms. And of course, for biotoxins, which are not biological agent, microorganisms themselves, but the toxins produced in them, they can be equally also very toxic, including botulinum toxin, the ricin, the staphylococcus enterotoxin. And those ones that can be weaponized, we include the botulinum toxin, the cholera toxin, diphtheria toxin, and tetrodotoxin. So if you look at this, you see that biological agents, we need to be separated into what kind of type they are and what use that can be deployed for. Now, these are, in the past, some of the deliberate use of biological agent weapons. We know that in 1978, resin was used in the UK, which led to the death of one person. And the perpetrator was an alleged state-sponsored mechanism. And the mechanism for dispersing it was metal pellets fired from umbrella, a modified umbrella. In 1979, there was anthrax attack, the first one in former Russia, USSR, and which resulted in 42 deaths. And then it was a bioweapon manufacturing plant, and this was industrial accident. It was not for criminal purpose. And then in 1984, it was salmonellosis. That was happened in Oregon, US, whereby there were 751 cases, and it was a religious sect, which was for ill intention by contaminating food outlets. And then the most recent that was documented was the 2001 anthrax, as already indicated earlier. So while we may be focusing on the field, like I mentioned, we also want to work with the public health, and we need to look at signs and symptoms. Now, our mantra in COVID-19 is, if you see something, say something, and do something. If you see something, say something, and do something. So sometimes we need to look at individuals, look at people. This is not a time in forensic. Sometimes people think that forensic is high-tech laboratory. Forensic starts with your eyes, with your nose, with your senses. Just having a forensic attitude, looking that things are not looking well, somebody's not behaving well, something sounds strange here and out of place. So forensic science in advancement is not just in building bigger labs, which is very good, in optimizing our test, which is very good, but we also have to build a high index of suspicion. And when we see people and we have some systemic symptoms like fever, sweating, chills, maybe it is time to begin to ask questions. It may be your co-workers, it may be people working in your laboratory. Why are you sweating? When did this start? Because people in a bit, either accidentally or with intention, may first inoculate themselves, or they may be victims of such bad use of such biological weapons or agents. And respiratory symptoms, which is very, very prominent in COVID-19. People can have cough, rapid breathing, difficult breathing, increased respiratory secretions, and blood in secretions. So it can be systemic or respiratory. It can also be skin features, sudden skin rashes and blisters. So in the nervous system, people can just complain of headache, loss of consciousness, changes in peripheral cranial nerve function, and they can have swollen lymph nodes. Now, why I'm putting this is because I work in a hospital, in a university teaching hospital. And so we look at all these features and we have triaging. And we triage patients based on some of the symptoms they show, some history they give us, where they have been, and people they've associated with. Because forensics needs to make a contact. Remember the dynamics I mentioned. We have to establish a strong connection between the agent and the perpetrator and the effects that it gives to people. And sometimes it is not always intentional, it may be accidental, but nonetheless, the same effects to individuals who come across it and to the larger society can be experienced. So these are to establish etiological certainty, we have to look at the assertion, which is from 1 conjectural to 4 confirmed. And then you can look at the explanations. For conjectural, your assertion level is 1 and it's congruous, which is congruence with clinical, pathological, and epidemiological features. just what I've mentioned to you. You're just suspecting. So sometimes suspicion is where it begins. And then second, we can upgrade to second level assertion too, which is potential. And then when we have consistent features, which is consistency of biological responses to encounter with prospective infective agents. We have a pattern of presentations that are consistent with how this biological agent presents. And then we now have number 3 level assertion, which is candidate. We begin to look at progressive or cumulative dissonance at every known level of biological organization. And of course, confirmed, which is the highest level. For confirmed, what we are looking at is containment of effective process or controlled introduction of biomedical intervention. So we have to establish this nexus of certainty in forensic science to be able to help our community. Because the authorities, we ask the forensic world, what is your level of certainty about this being just maybe a potential or being something that is systematic and kind of intentional deployment of etiological or biological agents to causing injury to members of the public. So we need to have these mechanisms for establishing etiological certainty. So that brings us, in concluding my remarks, that brings us to the concept of microbial forensics, which is the forensic application of microbial genotyping to criminal investigation and public health. And so you can have genetic fingerprinting of the organisms themselves. And we need to profile them and have a database of them, just like we have databases of criminals. When we have databases of their fingerprints, their DNA, we need to begin now to have microbial forensics and the genetic fingerprinting of microorganisms found in our environment and the ones that are outside, so that we can quickly run a database and be able to provide rapid information to authorities and public health and interventions in not only stopping further harm to members of the public, but being able to create a link between that agent and possible perpetrators. So the concept of microbial forensics should be something the community world, the forensic world, we need to have a greater emphasis on in helping our community in the present world. So what is the strategy? There has to be a strategy. The strategy then will be to integrate methods used to analyze a novel on emerging infectious disease and identify its causal agent with conventional forensic evidentiary processes. And that was what, there was a little bit lagging phase. I mean, where was this virus coming from? What is the nature of this virus? Is it an existing one or a new one? And so we need to have a strategy to integrate existing methods already to analyze a novel on emerging infectious disease, because time is of essence. Many countries delayed in their lockdown, delayed in their response, delayed in public health measures, because there was this initial confusion about what is the nature of this organism. How does it work? What effect does it have? Especially when it's a novel organism. So we need, for large populations, especially India, United States and Brazil and some other parts of the world, and in Africa, Nigeria, and in some, we need to have this integrative approach to analysis so that we can provide rapid answers. Therefore, in conclusion, there is a need for the scientific community, especially the forensic world, to have high index of suspicion in today's world. And it begins at every level: intra-country, international exchanges, at the border, in the hospitals, in the laboratories, in the offices. Everybody, there should be high index of suspicion. We should not be reacting. We should be very proactive. We should begin to predict. We should begin to, before even there is a widespread effect, we should be able to predict and detect and look at where people are coming from. What is their job? This is a biological scientist. What are you coming to do in India? Why? What is your purpose here? What are you carrying? The focus for border security may not be on drugs, on hard drugs. It may be on biological agent. Have we developed tests or things that we can swipe, just like we swipe for cocaine and hard drugs, and we say, oh, this person has carried hard drug. We need to develop also kits that we can swap people's baggage and we say there is an agent that is here that is not supposed to be here. Where is it coming from? Because hard drug may just affect the person and a few people, but biological agent is going to affect the whole country. And so we need to develop such tests now. It is time for us to look at how we do border protection, internal security, and international relations when it comes to biological agent, because the world has changed. And bad actors know that they can disrupt the world now with biological agents, be it viruses or bacteria or parasites. And then the forensic science practitioners will play a significant role in this. You and I can do this. And that's why I'm happy that your topic is on recent advancements in forensic science. You and I have a big role to play, working with authorities, police, investigative agencies and security agencies, and laboratories, medical doctors, forensic scientists. We need to come together and begin to define what our vulnerabilities are in our own country. And then we begin to look at how do we address this vulnerability? What are the threats? And then do appropriate threat assessment. So I want to thank you for inviting me to this important discussion. And I think it is high time the whole world collaborate together and we just look beyond the regular forensics to look at special areas of forensics like microbial forensics, knowing that it can disrupt our world. You and I are having this discussion because of microbial infection, because COVID-19 has stopped us from traveling and then reduced activity all over the world. And it is affecting the economy, it is affecting people's mental health, it's affecting social health, it's affecting everything we've known. Now we have a new normal. We can't afford to have a repeat of this, especially by bad actors. And so there's an advancement that we need to look into in forensic science. We need to look at microbial forensics and have an integrated approach to it. Thank you so much for inviting me. And I will be happy to take any question if there is time. I'll spend 20 minutes right now. Over.
Excellent session, Mr. Wong. As you rightly said that at one point of time, we thought that science has made so much progress and the whole world has converted into a small village, what we thought of. But with this COVID now, again, we are rolling back. Remember, it's no longer is a village. So everybody got separated. Nobody's in a position to communicate. And, it is clearly impacting both the cultural, political, economical. It impacted every aspect of your life, as you rightly said it today, right? There's a point really. I can't remember, and speak with my own brother without having something on my face. So that is a real scenario, as you rightly put it. So we are very sure that, yes, we thought of at one point of time, we have a traditional warfare. And biological warfare is there for quite a long time. There is no doubt about it. And in between, we got a cyber warfare also we thought of. Remember, that how we can attack the computer systems of other countries by producing some viruses, etc. But I have one question here as a moderator also. I think other people also, because we want to learn the certain things. The biggest problem in the case of cyber also, if you look at a virus, for example, statistics, per day, more than 7 lakhs of viruses are coming into market. 7 lakhs, right? You can think of there's something around 700,000 if you put it in. The problem we are facing is the viruses have become highly polymorphic in nature. The virus characteristic of one is quite different from the other. If you look at in the case of the COVID also, the one point is, there is no doubt we can't blame certain countries which got impacted because the COVID, they have not come out and openly said what are the various characteristics of that particular virus. Had they informed to us, we would have taken enough security mechanisms, screening the people at the airport, not allowing the people to travel and all that, right? But what we are observing in the case of COVID also, the virus that is getting mutated at a very faster rate. Like in the case of a computer virus, it is also becoming highly polymorphic. If X got infected with a COVID and his neighbor has got, the type of symptoms I'm seeing in the X is quite different from the type of symptoms I'm seeing in the Y. In such a scenario where it becomes highly polymorphic and the symptoms are quite different, how can you really identify this particular variant is different from the other particular variant is the one big question mark we are finding it. For example, it has already reported the type of, remember, the virus that is shown in the China is quite different from that of what is really available in India. India being a very large country with a different climatic conditions, the exposure of the virus in the northern part of the India is quite different from that of the southern part of the India. If you look at the number of people become victims for the number of people, the mortality rate, these are all quite different, right? So now, can you throw some light on that? if the virus has become a polymorphic in nature, how this is going to really help us to a great extent. How many samples I can select it? India is a very large country with a very huge population, with a completely different genetical characters and all that. The symptoms of one is quite different from that of the other. So how can I create a centralized symptom databases to identify that? Can you throw some light on that? What the Nigeria has done in this case?
Excellent. Thanks for your comment. I think this is the challenge. Without missing, well, this is the real challenge. And that's why I spoke about having to contextualize our approach. We have to freeze in time. And that's why forensic comes in. At the time we're having a virus, we have to have a moment frozen in time T. What do we have? And at this time T, we are coordinating with public health, with people who may have had some contact, who may have had some symptoms, and what are they having at that time T. It is very, very challenging when you have a virus like COVID-19 that keeps changing form. But the good news is that not all parts of the virus is changing. That's the good news. And that's why we can have a vaccine. It's an RNA virus. There are some components of them of the virus that is changing, but there are others that are remaining constant. Sometimes the spikes, some elements that move certain components of the elements of the virus, they remain constant. Without this constancy, there's no way we can develop a vaccine. So we need to focus on those elements that are changing and also elements that are remaining constant and freeze our observation in time. And that's where forensics comes in, because forensic is not just medical treatment. We are looking at almost to the second. This was collected at so time, and then we label it, we put the time. It's not just enough to say it is collected on 22nd of October. We need to also put the time and the location. So with that, we are doing some profiling. We are matching characteristics of those changing forms of the virus. And then for clinical symptoms, it is still a big problem. We don't still have a solution. I mean, we don't even have an answer to why we have such disparity in differences in clinical features. Some people, even who are elderly, some will just shrug it off, and some people, it is overnight death. I mean, I am in the task force, and I'm chairing the institutional task force of COVID-19 in my own context. It's a nightmare. It's a nightmare. So we are still trying to understand, are there some other things that are not necessarily at the level of the gene, but a wide cross-reactivity that must have been built up from other infections that may be resulting in the differences in symptoms, not necessarily because of the nature of the virus, but that people have developed broad cross-reactivity to a range of coronaviruses, because we've always had coronaviruses. The seasonal flu, some of them are coronaviruses. So it's a difficult question you've asked me, and we're still working on it. But with microbial forensics, we can begin to systematically freeze moments in time and be able to document, and then making linkages. Once we see an aberration or a strange occurrence or profile, we begin to ask questions. Where is this coming from? This is not the pattern of mutation we have seen. And of course, the virus is also one step ahead. Sometimes we see a pattern of mutation and suddenly it changes form. And so it's a big headache for everybody. And we are still learning it. But we cannot give up. We have to all come together and then develop algorithms for us to be in many statistical algorithms, working with people in statistics to be able to make calculations based on the rate of mutations and the confidence level we can put in determining whether this is a new one or an existing one. We all need to bring everybody on board. We may need cyber people to be able to create computer models that we can use. It's everybody's work. Thank you so much.
As you rightly said, we require to have a cooperation from cyber people. We require to have a people, remember, the big databases, doing analytics on that, doing clustering of the people and doing the linkage analysis from where to where the right people have moved to what locations and all that. So a combination of cyber people, statisticians, and I think this is going to solve all the problems, right? So that's where probably you can think of in the next couple of years, some interdisciplinary programs will rolled out.
Excellent.
That interdisciplinary got developed. That is where I should have a knowledge about biology. I should have a knowledge about the statistics, how I can correlate both the fields together to really bring the output. The point was well taken and noted, Mr. Ovam. And thank you very much. Thanks for your kindly sparing your valuable time. And we look forward for a future more interactions from the university side. Thanks a lot. Thank you very much for sharing yourself. Stay safe, stay healthy.
Permit me to thank Kavita, my good friend. I've known her for years now. Thank you so much, Kavita, and thank you, Dr. Gautam. And hopefully one of these days we'll meet in person. And greetings from my residents and doctors here at our University College Hospital. And hopefully one day I'll be in person. We can collaborate together, and hopefully we get through this COVID-19. Thank you so much, and bye-bye from my context.
You may.
So I would like to...
one thing. Obem, I think he has left, no?
No, he's still there, sir.
Oh,
Obem. I'm still here.
I have seen your another face. I was thinking that you are related to the humanitarian forensics. You came over here and you delivered a very good lecture, but you have discussed about the microbial forensic. So one thing I will especially would like to mention over it here, I agree with Krishna Shastri. Due to the polymorphic nature, it is not any easy, and neither it is a possible, neither it would be helpful. The database cannot help in the forensic science. Similar the case with the diatom also. Data, because they are not stationary. They are moving. Shastri has very clearly said it is from south to north, there is a variation in the environment. And every this microorganism cannot be designated as a this biological weapon. To identify the microorganism is very difficult, and to designate whether it has come due to any criminal activity or due to the extension natural activity. So this microbial forensic has very challenging task before us. As Shastri told very frankly, that there is a need for interdisciplinary research in this field.
I agree.
Okay.
I agree with you. Absolutely.
So, Bom, I am very much thankful for your fast and non-stopping lecture. Very interesting. I have seen you in Ahmedabad also. Very nice. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Okay, bye-bye.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
I think it's the right time for all of us to say thanks very much. Mr. Barry has rightly put it about the sexual assault investigations. What was the importance of that? What type of regulatory frameworks we require? What type of strategies we require? And we could not listen from the Dr. Wagmore. Probably we'll get another opportunity to listen from Wagmore in the next couple of years, because the academic institutes will take enough measures in the future to conduct one more. And I just briefly thrown some light. I'll be more than happy to take some 3 or 4 sessions, because recently I conducted for some of the universities, because I want to bring more people into the cyber forensic domain, looking at cyber security perspective, where there's a huge demand was there in the market. I will be in touch with Dr. Kavita to share my views in the next, probably, I don't know what the time permits, depends upon. I'm more than happy to take some 3 to 4 hours to get exactly what was the scenario of the cyber forensics and all. And I would like to thank for Omam for giving an excellent about the microbial forensics, what was the need, etc. And with the able guidance of Dr. MP Gautam, who is, remember, 4 decades, he was in the forensic, I know very well about, sir. Thank you very much. Thanks for able to recall me, at least my face. Right.
No, I know.
So we got a very good practitioners as a part of this. Dr. Kavita, who is an academician, is also part of this. I look forward for all of you to interact with that. And I would like to congratulate the department. I would like to congratulate the University Sri Vaishnava Vidyapith Vishwavidyalaya for taking this initiative and conducting a session on recent advances in the forensic science. So I look forward to associate with you all in future. and be a community, be a forensic community. Let us serve the nation. Let us serve the humanity. How best, in what best we can able to serve it. So thank you very much. Jai Hind to all.
Thank
so
you,
much,
sir.
sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for all the respected dignitaries and speaker for joining us in the second plenary session of International Conference on Recent Advancement in Forensic Science. Thank you once again, everyone. Thank you, sir.
Special thanks to Shastri sir.
Thank you so much.
You have found time out of your busy schedule and chaired the session very nicely. Thank you.
Shastri, you be ready for
Yes, sir.
rejoining with us, with the university.
It's privilege, my honor to all of you.
Oh,
Thank you very much, sir. Academicians are all the same.
I know you attend. I know.
Sir, we are having a course in UG and PG program.
Yeah, we will discuss, madam, off the line because this is conference meeting. Perfectly. I'll be in touch with you to serve the nation. No issue. Welcome.
Actually, we are missing the Bagmare due to some reason he could not attend.
Yes, sir. Sure, sir. Will be in touch. Right?
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Stay safe. Stay healthy.
Yubom also, I am thankful to you.
Yes.
Yes, I'm here. I'm here, sir.
Oh, okay. I am again thanking to you.
Thank you so much.
For your excellent lecture.
Thanks a lot. I've shared my contact.
Very soon we will meet again in another with another feature and result. Okay.
Excellent.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Sir.
Okay.
Parvez, sir.
Okay.
Shrikant, sir. Parvez, sir.
वो दूसरी मीटिंग में बिजी ना हो आयुष.
यस सर.
वो दूसरी मीटिंग भी शायद चल रही है कोई.
अच्छा सर.
उसमें व्यस्त ना हो
सर. फिर अपन सर हम लोग लीव कर देते हैं सर.
हाँ लीव कर लो. अब नेक्स्ट वाला कब है? 4 बजे है शायद.
सर 4:30 बजे सर.
हाँ ठीक है, अभी लीव कर लो.
जी सर.
ठीक.
थैंक यू सर.
ओके, थैंक यू.